most common questions I get asked is, how long will it take to write and publish my book? Whether you've got the first draft done on your manuscript or you're just thinking about starting to write, I'm going to walk you through how long it takes the average author to write, publish, and launch a nonfiction book. Stick around. Hey there, I'm Julie the Book Broad from Book Launchers. We're your professional self-publishing team helping you write, publish, and sell a nonfiction book that grows your brand, builds your business, and makes you money. The best part, you keep all rights and royalties. We just provide you emotional support and expert guidance along the way. And we care more about you and your book and your success than anyone else. All right, let me show you something. Come closer. This is some super duper top secret Book Launchers juice right here, my friends. It's our book publishing timeline. So let me just enter a little date in here, and I'll pick a random date that may or may not be the day someone you know was born. As a start date, our platinum level service is where you write your book yourself with the support of one of our writing coaches, and one professional works on your book at a time. If you're doing this on your own, you may double up on some things, but generally you're going to follow this same order when you do your own book on your own. So here's the fun part. How long will this take? Well, this spreadsheet calculates a projected launch date, but every author is different, and we generally don't run this timeline to create that launch date until the first draft is written, because some authors hammer out a first draft in a few months, while others take a year, maybe a little longer. So this really does come back to the author, so you gotta know yourself and also have a sense of how much time you're gonna put on this. Because some authors work on the book for a bit, take a break, come back, change things, work on it a bit, and it takes a long time. And again, there's always exceptions, but typically someone who comes to us with an idea, a clear goal, an idea of their audience, and they have the material. So they've been working in this field for a while. They've been speaking on it, teaching it, or at least thinking through the concepts and steps for quite some time. So it's not a brand new concept to them. In that case, the book can move fairly quickly. What surprises people most is that developing the hook and creating the outline takes most people a month. Once you have that in place though, you might be able to write the book in 60 to 90 days. This depends on so many things though: the length of your book, the complexity of the materials, the amount of research, the amount of thinking you've already done to develop your messages, stories, steps, tools, and tips. In this timeline, we plan for you to take about 4 months to write your book. Now, a lot of our clients will actually take longer, and a few will take a little less. Now, from a finished first draft, depending on how solid that first draft is and what the length is, editing is a 2.5 month process. Some people take 3 months or a little longer because they slow down after the content edit, or they make a lot of changes in copy edit and you need a third round of copy edit. But this editing plan allows for a content edit, which some people call a developmental edit, 2 rounds of a copy edit, and a proofread. It's rare someone goes through editing much faster than this, and if they do, it almost always spells problems later, problems in the form of adding a chapter they thought of later, or extensive wordsmithing once the book is locked down and changes aren't supposed to be made anymore. So rushing editing can have issues later. Shorter books will go through this content copy and proofread phase in 2 months if the draft is solid. But it does typically take 2.5 months. Once the editing is done, you can start your audiobook. Now, parallel to the editing, you could be doing keyword research and some of the other things noted here if you have spare time. But many authors don't have spare time. Now, you can start on your cover earlier, but you can't finalize the spine or the back cover until you have the description or the number of pages, which you really can't do until the book is done. So that's why it's happening later in the platinum level for our process. Now, I want to draw your attention to another spot where people slow down and don't realize the work is involved. And this is at line editing. Once your book goes into layout, you need to be prepared to read it again. A lot of times you think when you're done all of the editing that you're done, but when it gets laid out, little errors can pop in. So this is when you have to read the book again. And by the way, this is when you're likely sick of your book. And if you're not sick of your book, you probably rush through editing and are going to find a lot of issues in the line edit. Here's the thing though, when you wordsmith, when it's in this phase, and wordsmithing means you make changes that are larger than correcting typos or changing a single word. It means your entire book has to be recoded because layout is hard-coded with page numbers. So your change can cause things to change over into a new page, but it doesn't flow through like a Word document. So it takes way more effort to change a book at this stage than editing a Word document. That said, this is the final opportunity to change before you go to print, so you need to plan on reading it or get a proofreader to read it. If you take a long time to do it, it will slow this process down a lot. So you can see at this point, we're 8 months into it. But the good news is you now have a book that you can begin to use to solicit reviews and begin to get excitement and momentum building. And for some authors, they skip the pre-sale and jump right to selling. I've talked about pre-sales in this video right here and discussed all the things you need to do to prepare your book for launch and beyond. Now, here's a few things we do in pre-launch that are noted in this timeline. Rallying the book army. We've talked about book army in another video, so you can look up that video. We prepare material for social media and even do some posting on social media. We send out books for book reviews and early media opportunities. We begin pitching for podcast interviews and media. And did I mention book reviews? Yeah, we're doing a lot of that in pre-launch. Also, it's for Platinum Plus clients, but you might want to do this for yourself, is setting up NetGalley reviews, which is a paid service, and Goodreads giveaways. All this leads up to your book launch, which in the case of this book example is 11.5 months after the start date. There you have it. How long is it going to take you? I don't know. Most people will fall in the 9 to 15 month range from start to finish. Some people go a little faster, not a lot. Some people go a little longer, sometimes a lot longer. So hopefully this sneak peek at the timeline gives you a sense of the many steps involved in producing a professionally published book. And of course, that all just gets you to launch. There's a lot of things to do in post-launch for book marketing. But in summary, how long does the book take? Well, that's going to depend on the complexity and size of the book, the author's organization, the skill of the author, and the speed at which decisions are made throughout. I can tell you that working hard in the early phases, specifically working hard to get clarity before you write, so you have that cool hook, the great outline, clarity on your audience, and specific goals for your launch, and you've tailored your book to that, will help so much later on. Finalizing the first draft and the content edit takes time to think through. And if you take time to think, is everything here? Am I happy with the tone? Do I need more research or content? And you do all of that before you leave content, you will go much faster through everything else. A book is a big project. Even if you skip some of these steps or you have a smaller budget or different goals for publishing versus the folks that we typically work with who are writing a book that they will use to build their brand, grow their business, and that book, in order to do that, has to be awesome because they want media attention, bookstore distribution, they want speaking engagements and more. And to have a book do that, it has to be professionally published. But even skipping some of the steps, you might be surprised at the time and effort that goes into some of the phases that you thought would be easier. So I'm curious, how long did your book take if it was nonfiction? Fiction is a different ballgame. And what surprised you about the speed of the process? Let's chat about it in the comments below. And when you comment the day a video is released, you'll be entered to win some sweet Book Launchers swag. New videos come out every Tuesday and Friday, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so we can hang out in the comments after a video comes out. There are tons of videos to help you with the process that we've outlined here, so I'm going to put the entire playlist of how to self-publish a book up here for you. And this one over here is super important to understanding the different kinds of editing, because hiring one editor isn't usually all you'll need to create a great book. So go ahead, click on one of these videos, whichever one you want to watch, and woohoo, congratulations. This was a pretty intense video. So let's unwind together in one of these other videos. Fun times ahead, I promise, or your money back guaranteed.